Okay guys, we are back at Trench Crusade. We have been very much enjoying that series. We have a whole host of miniatures now painted up for Trench Crusade, and I'm starting to kind of really flesh out that playlist for you guys so you guys can get an understanding of how to put together and paint up Trench Crusade miniatures. Today we're going to be tackling the Werewolf, which is a very unique and awesome style of miniature. It's kind of a handful, but with the tips and tricks in this video, hopefully it'll make it a lot easier for you guys to get your werewolves painted and on the tabletop. Before I get into the video though, I just want to say, as always, at the beginning of my videos, I like to thank everyone that supports the channel, whether it's by liking the videos, watching the videos, making sure that you're subscribed, or just dropping some comments. Those few bits and pieces are super important for how many people see each video and how quickly the channel grows. So for all you guys out there, thank you so much. And obviously those people who go the extra step and support me over on Patreon, obviously you guys get a lot of extra benefits: access to a private Discord server, painting competitions, you get access to an extra video every single week, get extra podcast episodes, and of course you get an extra gift every single month, or you get entered into an extra giveaway every single month. The first month that we did it, we gave away an Imperial Knight. Last month we gave away a Dark Eldar Raiding Force, and this month we are giving away an airbrush with a compressor, a perfect starter set for anyone who wants to get into airbrushing who has never done it before. So one lucky person who has signed up to my Patreon at any tier will be in with a chance of winning this in December. That's pretty exciting. Okay, without further ado, let's dive in and get this Werewolf painted up. Okay, and this is the Werewolf, a very awesome sculpt and design from Trench Crusade. Like I said in the intro, I am very much falling in love with all of these Trench Crusade miniatures, and I'm having a lot of fun kind of going through them, exploring all the different models from all the different warbands, and then getting some of them painted up. I definitely have some favorites, but I definitely haven't got to some of my favorites as well. We are, of course, going down the road of the Green Stuff World paints as usual. These are the guys that have tasked me with making videos to show off their acrylic paints. And we basically had a conversation back and forth and decided that I would use the Trench Crusade range of miniatures to do it. I think that makes a lot of sense because it gives me an excuse to paint these awesome miniatures and play around with their paints. I think I've done 4 or 5 videos with their paints so far, and honestly, they have not disappointed. They are definitely slightly different to some normal acrylic paints. They tend to feel a little bit more watery, but with strong pigment. So they're easy to kind of push around and get a base coat, but when you are pushing them around, you think it's going to be super thin. It's almost like a contrast, but like thicker. And just, yeah, it gives you a really nice coat. So as you can see, this rosy skin color that I'm using here to block in all of the skin tones on this guy, he looks like a little bit of a shaved pig right now, but that's okay. Was a single coat of that rosy skin, and it works really well. The Pectum Flesh is one of their not new, but new to me, their flesh shades. It's one that I've been using for a lot of my projects when I'm doing skin, and I am really enjoying the result of the Pectum Flesh shade being put across pretty much everything. Calgar's face that I did in a video a few weeks ago was used with that. Yeah, I'm going to continue using that skin tone for, I think, quite a while. I really do like the results. It's the first time I'm starting with rosy skin, but it seems to work. Obviously going in with that mid-tone skin tone now, and obviously taking my time hitting those kind of raised areas and really defining all those different muscle groups, and now that kind of sinewy, like taut muscle that these werewolves have on the sculpts. Obviously this thing is bounding across no man's land, quite heavily armored in the front. His front arms and his whole head is pretty much encased in armor. So as he's running at you and you're kind of popping rounds at him, a lot of it is getting deflected. And then before you know it, he's going to be barreling into your trench. And then you're going to have a very bad day. One of the most kind of interesting features of a werewolf, and the whole kind of general purpose of a werewolf, is that awesomely designed helmet with those serrated teeth and the big kind of Y-shaped opening. You may be wondering why the helmet is designed like this, and the reason is quite clever. The purpose of the werewolf is to charge through miles of barbed wire, clearing a path for the infantry to follow up behind it. So that's its entire purpose in the battlefield. It charges through, catches all of the razor wire and just splits those cables, and then continues to charge on until it hits the soft, squishy enemy kind of front lines. So that's a really cool and interesting way to use it, and I do hope there is some kind of cool mechanics in the game in order to make use of that, because I think it's a very cool and unique thing that I haven't really heard from any other war game. And it's a reason why kind of Trench Crusade does grab my attention quite a lot, is the amount of effort they've put in and the amount of detail they have put into each and every miniature, not just in the design of them, but in the whole concept. Their rule, their lore, their purpose, all that kind of stuff is so well thought out, and it just makes me happy. Okay, with that skin tone all done, we move on to Stallion Black. I decided to give this thing a black fur. So I'm very carefully going to go in and block in all of that scraggly black fur across this miniature. Taking my time, like I said, not to hit any of the skin because we are finished with the skin for now. So we do not want to hit it with any of this really kind of strong black paint. There is obviously tufts of fur all over this miniature. So do take your time and literally go around exploring the model, trying to find all those different bits and pieces. I very briefly thought about doing the cables and stuff in a different color. In the end, I decided not to. I'm going to leave them as black. But I get black root grey paint and I layer up all of the fur, but I don't layer up the cables. I just leave the cables that really dark black color, and that will obviously distinguish the cabling from the fur. Obviously, as you can see, I'm taking my time and picking out some of those kind of higher strands of fur and just giving it a quick highlight. And as you can see, it does make the fur stand out quite nicely, but without adding too much, it's not too much effort. It's not going to sit there for 2 hours and painting the fur. I got all the fur layered up in maybe 5 minutes, I think, which is a pretty nice result for not that much effort. Next, it's time to block in all of the metallics, and for this we went for the Athrax metal, which is basically like lead belcher or bolt gun metal style. It's a dark color scheme and it does work really well for blocking in all of those metallic areas. I briefly toyed with trying to go in with some brasses or some rusts or something like that, but in the end I did decide to go with kind of like a clean looking metal. It's going to get shaded down and then it is going to get layered up, and then we are going to add a little bit of rust to it. But I think I wanted to start from a nice silver base coat. I have been enjoying the Trench Crusade miniature range, and I haven't been going as kind of dark and grungy as maybe the rest of the community is with these miniatures. I don't know why my brain wants to paint them just a little bit more kind of bright and a little bit more standoutish. Maybe it's, I know the table is going to be so dark and so grungy and I want the models to stand out a little bit more from the tabletop than they might do with some of the other schemes that I've seen online. So with all the silver blocked in, it's time to go in with this ancient sepia ink, and we're going to apply this all over the metal to, like I said, dull it down. We're not going to leave it that bright polished silver. And this is a beautiful color for knocking all of that silver down. We are going to be layering it up in a little bit with the same kind of silver again, in more of the kind of central areas. But I do like all the crevices and stuff will be a little bit dirtier and make it set the tone just a little bit more naturally with this model. And like I said, going back to that same metal color, and then I'm going to roughly layer up all that metallic again. You can see the amount that I'm applying, and it's not very much. I definitely want to leave that ancient sepia tone left behind on quite a lot of the metallic surface of the model. Now, I must not forget all of those claws. So I went for mustard yellow and then a nice parchment color. The mustard yellow is going to be my base coat for all the claws because it's a little bit more, I don't know, kind of gross and grim and a little bit more natural color. The mustardy tan color to start from kind of gives the impression that the nail beds themselves will be a little bit more yellow in tone, which I think suits the chaotic look to things more than if it was like a pristine, like bone colored nail bed. So this is just something I saw. I've been playing around with the idea of using that mustard color for a while now, and I decided to pluck up the courage and use it, or the claws on this particular model. Then going in with the parchment and layering up all those nails once again to make them a little bit brighter. One of the fun things which you don't really notice until you start painting the miniature is the front hands have about 8 fingers each. You don't notice it when you're holding the model. It took me until I was literally applying paint to be like, hey, wait a minute, there's extra fingers all over the place here. Is this made in AI? Look at all these extra fingers. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I quite like the result. Quite like how I did the base as well, my traditional kind of mud style base, and then we played around with some rusts. We have this fox hide brown here, and I simply watered this down into basically like a glaze, and I used this to represent rust. I went around all the like little bolts, and obviously in between the different armor panels and stuff, I fed this in. Any of the kind of cult symbols which have been carved into this piece will of course be, water will settle in those, will cause a little bit of rust and oxidization and stuff like that. So it just adds that extra little kind of a speck of color throughout the piece, and obviously dulls down the metallics once again just a little bit more. And with that, we have our finished Werewolf Assault Beast. Another model ticked off the backlog of the Trench Crusade range. My goal is to paint up most miniatures in the whole Trench Crusade arsenal. I'm at the bare minimum going to be painting up all of the big awesome centerpiece models from it. And then every model that's kind of like one step down from that, so this size and above. So I am quite excited to see what that's all going to look like on the tabletop. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.